And I guess it's just a little confusing to me because in this tax plan, 95% of Americans, basically Americans that make less than $360,000 a year, will not get tax cuts. They will have their taxes go up, which means their cost of living will go up and their income will go down. And that's really shitty. And
and I just love how he's just being honest. He's not trying to like purposely overdo it. You know, he's not sobbing in the camera. He's not like, but he's just looking at the facts, looking at his, condition. He's doing pretty well and saying, I'm good. But what about everybody else? So when it comes to tax cuts and the whole conversation behind it, when it comes to, especially when Republicans take office, they're always talking about tax cuts and how regular folks like myself, who's probably making $70,000-$80,000 or less a year, how that affects us compared to those who's making $250,000 and more. Like it's a difference. And one part of it is really the more important part of the conversation, at least for me. But here's a couple of facts. I did, a little bit of studying when it comes to taxes. I probably need to like sit down for like an entire day, probably in my Discord, and just learn about taxes, the history, the present, how that affects different groups of people, different classes of people, the whole nine. Like really get into it and maybe bring on someone in a Discord who's well equipped to answer and have these conversations. But some of the things that I come to find out, which, once again, this is all public information. So when it comes to tax cuts, one of the biggest components of it, which kind of contradicts Republicans' talking points, is the deficit. They're always bagging on Democrats, which, Bill Clinton, from what I can remember, actually was one of the best presidents to handle the deficit. When they do these tax cuts, at least in 2016 or 2017, when Trump implemented his tax cuts, that increased the federal deficit by 1.9 trillion over 10 years. Now, once again, I'm not a deficit professor, but that sounds like you're doing too much. You know what I'm saying? Like why? It doesn't make sense to do that, and you're all about managing. But when it comes to corporate tax cuts, they were made permanent in 2017. Most individual tax cuts were set to expire in 2025 this year unless Congress extended them. Once again, it's a reason. That's the key word, permanent. They made corporate tax cuts permanent, but for the individuals, we're gonna have to have that conversation later. For the average person who's making around 70,000-80,000 or less a year, which is a little more than half the country, you're probably going to see something around 800 to 1,500 range per year for middle class income households. Though it could be higher for those who have more kids. Obviously, the child tax credit, which one fact Republicans were against, so it's just a little weird. But 5 to 7% of the U.S. household have incomes of $250,000 or more. And just real basic. If you earn little, you're going to see little in these tax cuts. If you earn greatly, you're going to see greater tax cuts. I mean, it's real basic. But for some reason, people, the average Joe, the average plumber who thinks they're going to get Trump or they already got Trump into office, they think they're going to just see thousands upon thousands of dollars coming out of nowhere. Unless you're part of that 5%. You're not going to see that. When it comes to taxes, the Tax Cuts and Job Act which was under Trump, lowered the U.S. corporate tax rates from 35% to 21%. This is why corporations love Republicans and their tax cuts. That is ridiculous. 35 to 21%. Where do you think that extra money's going? I mean, a lot of them, a lot of people think it's going to trickle down, like it's somehow, some way they're going to invest it into the company, which some might do. But they have these things called shareholders for a reason. And that's where the trickle down effect doesn't work out. Let me see. So more after tax profit can be channeled into expansion, potentially fostering economic growth. If businesses invest, new hiring or higher wages can theoretically benefit workers. Businesses may use the extra money primarily for shareholders returns, like stock buybacks, rather than expanding or hiring. So that's just a real broad general perspective, at least for me, once again, of how these tax cuts help the wealthy and just giving breadcrumbs to people like you and I. But let's go ahead and watch Mr. Simu. Now, if you guys don't know him, he's a Marvel character. I probably rate him like at least that movie within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, like an 8. You know what I'm saying? But let's go ahead and hear his perspective. And once again, when it comes to celebrities, I take what they say with a grain of salt. There's celebrities who do it for the grift, and there's actually celebrities that understand politics, at least to a certain extent, to know when they're screwing over the regular person. Let's take a listen.
So I'll preface by saying that I'm not American, I'm Canadian, but I live in America, I own property in America, and I pay American taxes. And I read the new administration's new tax plan, and it looks like I get a tax cut. And I guess I just wanted to say that I don't need a tax cut. I'm happy to pay taxes. I believe I should pay taxes, and I actually believe that people like me should probably pay more tax. I've been very fortunate and am very privileged, and I'm happy to pay my fair share. And I guess it's just a little confusing to me because in this tax plan, 95% of Americans, basically Americans that make less than $360,000 a year, will not get tax cuts. They will have their taxes go up, which means their cost of living will go up and their income will go down. And that's really shitty. And
and I just love how he's just being honest. He's not trying to like purposely overdo it. He's not sobbing in the camera. He's not like, but he's just looking at the facts, looking at his, condition. He's doing pretty well and saying, I'm good. But what about everybody else? And that takes a lot, because maybe human nature, like the first reaction is, okay, I'm doing good. They're just going to have to figure their stuff out. They will figure something out. And it takes a whole nother type of person to say, you know what? I'm kind of actually worried about other people and how they're going to survive. That right there is not in everybody. It's really hard to find that.
I'm just so confused because you have so much of the American population who voted for a president that so clearly does not act in their best interest. And, instead of attacking the root causes of whatever is contributing to this massive wealth disparity, is instead, distracting the public with issues and really throwing, like, scapegoating women, people of color, and queer people and trans people. And I think it's clear to me what's really happening, which is that capitalism is running rampant, and there's massive deregulation that's really allowing for the creation of these multi-billionaires.
Beautiful. My God, like he's not saying nothing like deep felt, like something that like only those who have been studying American history could only have this perspective. Like you would think, okay, you would think he's just as broke as you and I. You know, got a few dollars in the bank. Like, no. Once again, maybe it's just like blowing my mind that wealthy people can come out and say, hey, this ain't right, bro. Like, I appreciate the tax cut, but what about everybody else? To me, that is just genuine and it's hard to find. You know what I'm saying? And like you said, like when it comes to Elon Musk and all these other CEOs and billionaires and millionaires being part of this administration, like I said a year ago, and it's going to happen in the next 4 years, these corporations are going to benefit massively by cutting every regulation that they don't like. They're going to benefit. That's the only reason why they're in politics, is to look out for their themselves and their shareholders. So whatever corners they can cut, they're going to cut. That's simple. Profits and capitalism go hand in hand. If you're not making profits, then you're not operating in capitalism like it's made to. That's simple. You don't have to be Neil deGrasse Tyson to understand that simple concept. Gravity. When it's up, it comes down. Simple. You don't have to complicate things like this sometimes. And for him, once again, I respect the genuineness of it all. And he doesn't care if he's making millions. He's worried about other people. And that's what is key. I don't mind millionaires if they genuinely care about other people. Once again, that's a fine line, and not too many people can do that.
Who have at this point amassed so much wealth that they can buy media companies and very easily influence, politics and policy and, change the course of elections. And I guess it's all just a little bit scary to me in a very roundabout way of saying that I don't need tax cuts and I guess just making a verbal promise to myself that any money that I save from these tax cuts in this administration, I will be donating instead. But yeah, hope everyone's doing okay. That's it.
Hey, pretty simple. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, when it comes to ways that I guess Republican voters think Trump is just going to drop all this money, I mean, he didn't even do that during his first term. And if people are still talking about the stimulus checks, once again, learn a history that came from the Democratic Party, and they had to forcefully get the Republicans on board. And mainly, and this is what I heard, I don't know if this is true or not, but they promised Trump that he will be able to sign these checks if he goes ahead and pushes this through. So once again, it's just weird that a lot of people are settling for crumbs. You know what I'm saying? They look at the Trump administration and they tell me that he's going to put more money in their pockets, and if they get that extra $800 to $1,500 a month, okay, cool. Go ahead and utilize that extra money as best as possible. But my concern is that's crumbs compared to what the 5% of Americans are getting. And they're making hand over fist. These corporations are making money off the same administration you want to give you money. So I don't want to settle for crumbs no more, because I see these wealthy people chilling in the bakery complaining like, oh man, I don't know if we could do much. I don't know if we could really do that. And they're living inside of the bakery while giving us crumbs. At some point, we need to say, hey guys, we hungry. We don't want crumbs anymore. And that goes to the Democratic Party. We don't want crumbs anymore. We want the bakery now. We helped build this bakery. We helped, produce the bread, and you guys are just benefiting off of our work. It's time for us to reap what we sow in a larger portion. I don't know. Maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe I'm just too radical. But that's just my perspective. But once again, guys, if you agree or disagree with anything I said in this video, let me know in the comments down below, or hit that Discord button so me and you can have that one-on-one talk. And like always, let's have that conversation.